Welcome to How You Pictured It, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs ready to grow their business in a way that feels good. Here you'll find actionable tips and tools to create the business and life you pictured. I'm your host, Kate Hyde with Dear Kate Brand Strategy. Let's get started. No matter how long we've been in business, there's always one thing that's really hard for us as photographers, and that is pricing. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 biggest pricing mistakes that I've seen made, and I've made a lot of them myself too. First, let's talk about not figuring out your cost of doing business. This is the very first step you need to take before you even attempt to decide what to charge someone. I need you to think through all of the software, equipment, utilities, education, supplies, props, all of those good things that you've used in your business and realize that they all have a cost associated with them. Until you actually calculate out all of those numbers, it can feel like you really aren't spending that much, but then it adds up super fast. And when you know these numbers, the exact cost of running your business, it makes it so much easier to know how much to charge to cover that cost and bring home an income, plus have money left over when it comes to tax time. Nobody wants to take a loss at the end of the year. Second is finding other successful photographers and copying their pricing. Look, it is easy to pull up someone's website and say, oh, they're charging $350 and I'm going to do the same thing. And honestly, it's not a good place to even start. Knowing what other competition in your area is charging can sometimes be helpful, but really you don't know the truth behind those numbers. You don't know what they are actually bringing in as an income. You don't know how many clients are booking at that rate. You don't know if they're shooting free sessions or discounted sessions. You don't know how much it costs them to run their business and what of the money that they're charging is actually profit. And thirdly, their prices and their pricing model may work for them and their ideal client, but not yours. And lastly, their pricing model just may not fit your lifestyle at all. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The third big mistake that I've seen is being afraid to raise your prices because you don't feel like you've reached the right skill level. Truth bomb. So many clients are not hiring you based on your skill. Most clients are not hiring based on skill. Honestly, clients don't see the difference in technical skill. They're not trained to look at an image and see how well something is focused, how great the light looks, how the colors are accurate or matched. They're just looking and seeing the things that catch their eye and what they like. They're also looking at your marketing, the service and the experience you provide, testimonials, and if the people in your photos look happy. Your time is valuable. The skills you do have are outside of the client's skill set, and you deserve to be compensated. Pricing really has nothing to do with skills. Number 4 is pricing in the middle. You may have heard this before, but there tends to be a dead zone in pricing. There's either the entry-level pricing, lower price, where the bargain shoppers are going to go, those who are just needing photos for photos' sake and have a budget, but still want a professional photographer. And then there is that kind of luxury price range where those people who aren't afraid to spend a little more like to shop. Then there happens to be this point in the middle where the price shoppers feel like you're priced too high and those luxury clients feel like you're priced too low and something might be wrong with what you're offering them. They're not thinking that they're going to get an expert when they hire you if you're priced in that middle zone. They're expecting a certain budget, and if you are lower than that, they'll think that perhaps that you're not the right photographer for them and they won't trust you and your services. When someone pays high dollar, they trust the professional's knowledge and experience and are happy to hand over their money. So pricing kind of in that middle dead zone is a big mistake that a lot of photographers make, especially as they start to grow and want to break free from that really low entry-level price point. Number 5 is not thinking through your experience from the client's shoes. Sometimes we forget what it's like to be on the other end of the camera, and we start pricing our photography based on what the experts are suggesting. We hear that providing digitals is not the right way to go, because then the client can print wherever they want and you don't have control over the final image. We hear about in-person sales appointments being great so that you can help the client choose their final images, and that can be true. But if the client is not wanting those things, then it's really, you're wasting your time and not going to be able to find the right clients for you if you're not offering what they need. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is not choosing the right pricing model for your life and your values. Look, you're going to be more successful when you do something that you love. For me, that meant not doing in-person sales. Yes, it was a profitable business model for me. I made good money doing in-person sales, but what I didn't love was that I was spending time away from my family, not shooting. I would have rather been shooting when I was away from my family, and providing that in-person sales service was not something that was a good fit for me. And it turned out that it really wasn't a good fit for my clients either. The ones that were hiring me with that service are not the ones that I really wanted to work with. And so changing to an online sales model with soft proofing turned out to be the right pricing model for me and for our family's life and for our family's values. So figuring out exactly if you should be doing online sales, in-person sales, collections and session fees. There's so many different ways to price your photography business, and there's not one right way. So finding that right pricing model for you, and again, for your priorities in your life and your values and for what your clients want, is where the magic happens. So let's do a recap real quick. The first big mistake that we make is not figuring out cost of doing business. The second pricing mistake is finding other photographers and copying their pricing. The third mistake is being afraid to raise your pricing because you don't feel like you've reached the right skill level. The fourth mistake is pricing in the middle. The fifth mistake is not thinking through your experience from the client's shoes. And the sixth mistake is not choosing the right pricing model for your life and for your values. I hope this has helped you kind of see where you can make some changes in your pricing to make sure that your business is more profitable and that you're bringing home a better income. You can find some great resources in the show notes, such as a cost of doing business calculator and a quiz to help you decide which pricing model works best for your personality type. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate you leaving a review and subscribing or sharing with your friends on social media. Just take a screenshot of wherever you're listening and post it into your stories and share what you've learned from this episode. You can tag me on any platform at Dear Kate Brand Strategy. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next episode.